The basic building blocks of nature are the elements defined by science, unique molecules that serve in harmony, each carrying their own gifts and contributing skill sets. This is their unity, their counterpart, their teammate and friend. When they converge, their strength is their difference. This is collaboration, the essence of creation. This is when synthesis occurs, providing dynamic data-driven solutions in our formula to your tech. Our foundation to efficient business structures in your cloud. Your architectural development, your digital platform, your services managed in an end-to-end partnership with our eye on your prize. For some, it's about the money, but for us, it's all about the chemistry. This is synthesis.
Indeed it is. This is a synthesis. So let me tell you what happened. Late one evening, it was a few weeks ago, synthesis was tagged on a Twitter thread. And what we saw happening there was a lot of talk about people needing money for development. And that led into a conversation about job seeking and, frankly, desperation. We decided that we couldn't sit by and not provide some information and some skills for people who might be needing it. What is going on? Is it COVID? Is it the state of the economy? Well, it doesn't really matter. What matters is what we can do to help. What followed that was we put a crack team together, and it really is. And we decided to bring you 1 hour of focused information on how you go about job seeking. It isn't just about putting in an application. It's about the CV preparation. It's about who to approach. And it is about how you present at that interview. So we have an amazing panel today, and I'm really, really excited about it. Jared, if I can ask you just to bring everybody in, I can do a very quick introduction. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Hello,
Right.
how?
Hi.
So what we did was we went to Synthesis and we said, we need some skills. We found Deborah Miller, who is our talent acquisition specialist, Elmory Grant, who heads up the academy, the Synthesis Academy. And for years, actually nearly 10 years, Synthesis has collaborated with Africa Tikkun. We do some amazing projects with them. We probably drive them completely mad, but we are that kind of organization. And so we asked Lerato Ramatseva to join us as well from Africa Tikkun. And what we're going to be doing is breaking it down. Deborah's going to go through CV tips. Elmory is going to go talk about putting your best foot forward, and Lerato is going to talk about searching for jobs and opportunities. After that, we're going to bring everybody back and then spend quite a few minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, on your questions. So there is a place to ask your questions. Please feel free to go and do that. Send your questions as soon as you think of them. What I'll do and what we'll do on our side is try and group them so that we can try and get as many of those types of questions answered. So the whole point of today is really an hour focused on how to find your best way forward, how to kickstart your career. I'm Howard Feldman. I'm head of marketing and people at Synthesis Software Technologies, and it's an absolute pleasure to spend the next hour with you. All right, let's bring Deborah on. Deborah is a seasoned headhunter. She boasts 9 years, so she's a lot older than she actually looks. She's got experience in the finance and information technology. She's got an honors degree in clinical psychology. She got that in 2011, and she also volunteers as a suicide counselor for an NGO, and that was well before she entered the recruitment area. She is passionate about staffing and employment, and we've asked her to chat to us about CV tips. She sees hundreds of them. who's your person you want to listen to. Deborah, over to you.
Thank you, Howard. Thanks for the kind introduction, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Today, I want to broach two important topics that I am particularly passionate about, and that, well, the first being is how do I construct an impactful CV, and the second being how should I conduct myself in an interview. I feel like these are things that we're not necessarily schooled on or not necessarily taught, and that should rather get some airtime so as to equip us appropriately. So the first thing I want to discuss is what is a CV? So the correct definition, I guess you could say, is a brief account of a person's education, qualifications, previous occupations, typically sent with a job application. But what I would like everybody on this call today to consider is that a CV is actually your most powerful marketing tool or your own branding tool. It's a completely unique document outlining who you are, what makes you unique, why you're the best in the business, and quite frankly, why you rock. Many people will include a cover letter supplementing their CV. I say leave this out. You have limited time to make an impact amongst hundreds of hopeful applications applying for your dream job. So I just want to discuss in terms of a CV, the essential basics. And what I really, really want to stress in this session is know your audience. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So firstly, ensure your CV is no more than 2 pages long. Choose a clear, legible font and stick to a couple of font sizes throughout. The body of your CV should be no smaller than size 11. Layout. Put your name at the top, make it larger, centralized, and bold. Next should come your email address, contact number, and suburb in which you reside. It's important to note that it is not essential. You should not feel obliged to list your marital status, ID number, address, or referees. Personal statement. Write a brief personal statement directly under your contact details. This should cover who you are, how you can add value, and your career aims. Rather than reeling off about your hobbies or interests, use this section to tell the employer why you're a good fit for their organization. Education, naturally included, subject, grade, institution, and date of achievement. Employment history, this goes without saying. List your most recent role first. And in terms of layout, list your job title, company of employment, and include dates of employment. Include the key points that may resonate with a prospective employer. Did you know on average, recruiters spend just 75 seconds, and I can attest to this, reading your CV. This means you have just over a minute to sell yourself and your strengths to the reader. 3/4 of CVs are rejected due to bad grammar, spelling, or poor visual layout. Ensure you tailor-make your CV to each individual job you applied for. Identify skills in the job spec and include example of these. Make each version of your CV a clear reflection of you as the perfect candidate for the job. Know your audience. Aside from qualifications, help yourself stand out from the crowd by listing any additional skills or other information that will strengthen your application. This could include training, language skills, relevant awards, membership, or professional bodies. Read through your CV before you send it out and ask someone to check it in case any spelling errors or grammatical errors have slipped through the net. So what I'd like to do is just provide a practical made-up example. So this is completely generic and made up from my side. This is an ordinary spec that, let's say, you're interested in. So this is a recruitment manager for the talent bank. So essentially, you'll be responsible for sourcing, attracting, hiring job candidates for open positions. Your portfolio will comprise of meeting clients' needs by finding candidates that match organizational culture and open job positions. So the requirements as per any job spec will be listed: relevant qualification, Johannesburg-based, sales and or target-driven, passion for people, experience using a recruitment database, experience having managed a team. If you're interested in applying for this position, please email your CV to Kaya@Talentbank. So there's that job spec. So what I would like to talk us through is how to know your audience and how to match your CV as per the job spec. So let's take Sally Ann Brown, for example, and this is again made up, so no puppy infringements here. Sally Ann has, I've highlighted where she has adapted her CV per the job spec. So here she has put forward that she has got her requisite qualification. Here again, she's overseeing daily recruitment activity and pipeline a team of 7 consultants. She's liaising with clients daily. If we go back, they wanted to see someone who was client-facing. And she has highlighted the fact that she is proficient in a recruitment CRM system. She has mentioned socializing as part of her hobbies, therefore, again, congruent with the fact that they are looking for a people's person. So why is this CV considered a good CV? Firstly, again, it's legible, it's concise, it's clear, and it's relevant. It's informative, it's neat, but most importantly, it's adapted to the job specification and or the company she's applying to. So this may sound completely elementary, but what I do witness a lot of the time is people who are unable to professionally even apply. And I want to focus on the body of the email and the text contained within. So have a look at what Sally Ann wrote. She said, "Dear Kaya," she addressed Kaya personally, showing a vested or rather a genuine interest. She said, "I trust this finds you well. Please find attached my CV for application to the recruitment manager role at the talent bank as advertised on, etc. Kindly contact me should you require any additional information." Why is this a professional email? It's personally addressed to the advertiser, which indicates a genuine interest. It's professionally worded, it's polite, it's grammatically correct, and it's concise. Let's have a look at a poor CV. So on the left here, you will see the font of the CV is not legible. The detail in the CV is nor relevant to the role at hand, nor concise. The body of the email is grammatically poor, and the information is far too detailed and irrelevant to the respective role. So Sally Ann here has said, "To whom it may concern, my name is Sally Ann. I'm looking for a job. Lately, I've found it difficult to find a job and I need to earn money soon. I like people very much, socializing with friends. I'm a happy, energetic person who will do this job well. I studied at the University of Johannesburg and completed my degree 2 years ago. I was awarded Personality of the Year and I wish to please apply for this role. I'm honest, trustworthy, and willing to learn." Nobody doubts the fact that all of these things are probably true to Sally Ann's personality. However, it's a far too detailed role. And again, we have to take for granted that the recruiter has limited time, and therefore you have limited time to make an impression. I'd like just to move on to interview tips. Again, some of the information here will be fairly elementary, but something that I think is important to serve as a reminder. So prepare for common interview questions. You will be asked where you see yourself in 5 years' time and why the company should hire you. Refrain from answers such as, "I wish to open my own recruitment agency," just going back to the example of Sally Ann Brown. This will be perceived as potentially utilizing this opportunity as a personal stepping stone for growth. Indicate that you are interested in a long-term venture with the company. Nobody likes a job hopper. Devise a few questions for the interviewer. And just remember that it is a two-way interview. You are also there to find out whether it's a match for you. So come to the interview with some intelligent and relevant questions for the interviewer that demonstrate your knowledge of the company as well as your serious intent. Research the interviewer. In today's day and age of readily available information, it is often possible to find out more about who you'll be meeting with. So don't be afraid to build a rapport with the interviewer if you found that you have commonalities. For example, I see that you studied at the University of Johannesburg. In Sally Ann's example, how was your experience? Aim to build a rapport here without portraying yourself as overly familiar. Research the industry and company. This is absolutely crucial. Do not arrive at an interview without doing this. This ensures that you're able to engage meaningfully with the interviewer. Make the most of the "tell me about yourself" question. Often a question that we as humans find quite difficult to answer. Where do we start? However, don't be shy to talk about accolades that are both relevant and irrelevant to the role at hand. For example, climbing Mount Everest demonstrates tenacity and determination. Ensure you don't make this a focal point, however. Clarify your selling points. Highlight the reasons you'll be instrumental in the role. For example, I have a collaborative management style, which is crucial when ensuring a team delivers on stipulated targets. Remain honest and authentic at all times. Rehearsed answers are easily detectable and misrepresentations easily revealed. Anticipate the interviewer's concerns and reservations. Interviewers look for ways to screen people out. Put yourselves in their shoes and ask yourselves, why might they not want to hire me? For example, I don't have this, I'm lacking in that area. Then prepare your defense. So, for example, I may only have 3 years management experience, but in my spare time, I research effective ways to influence. Be prepared for behavior-based questions. Prepare to answer questions based on a live example of a situation you've previously encountered. For example, how have you previously managed a conflict situation with a colleague? Goes without saying, dress appropriately. A modest outfit which depicts professionalism is always advisable. The next tip pertains predominantly more in the technological space, whereby people should be ready for technical questions which will require you to offer a solution on a whiteboard or similar platform during an interview. Always remember that your ability to reach the preferred answer is less important than the steps you take to get there. Stay calm. Reassure yourself that rather than it being an interview, this is a meeting between like-minded individuals. This will calm your nerves and assist you in putting your best foot forward with true authenticity and interacting in a conversational manner. Salary. It's a tough one, but I need to stress this point. If the topic of remuneration arises, be forthcoming. There is little point in going through the process of an interview if your expectations and that of the companies are not aligned. Take time to research market-related salaries respective to your skill set so as to manage your own response to this question in an informed manner. Something that is quite prevalent in today's times is virtual interviews, and this can be a little trickier. Ensure that you're equipped with the requisite infrastructure to support a seamless online meeting. Attend the interview in a quiet and professional setting. Ensure that you are punctual and uninterrupted. Take for granted that the interviewer schedule is busy and that this may be your one and only chance to create a strong first impression. Ensure your camera is on. This assists in creating a more personalized session. And minimize stimulus, which will prove to be distracting during an online call. For example, your cell phone going off. Be cognizant of your body language and facial expressions just as you would in a personal physical meeting. I'd like to take a moment to just explore the Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. This is a model we have really truly embraced at Synthesis, whereby what we look for is the ideal team player who possesses virtues such as hungry, humble, and smart. So hungry pertains to someone who is prepared to do more than what the job requires, is passionate about the mission of the team, feels a sense of personal responsibility for the success of the team, willing to contribute and think outside of working hours, willing to take on tedious or challenging tasks wherever necessary, looks for opportunities to contribute outside of areas of responsibility. Humble, compliments or praises without hesitation, easily admits to mistakes, willing to take on lower level work for the good of the team, gladly shares credit for team accomplishments, readily acknowledges weaknesses, offers and accepts apologies graciously. Lastly, smart, understands what others are feeling during conversations, shows empathy to others on the team, demonstrates an interest in the lives of teammates, attentively listens to everyone on the team, is aware of how words and actions impact others on the team, and lastly, adjusts behavior and style to fit the nature of the conversation or relationship. Thank you for joining me today. I suspect that I am out of time. A sincere wishing you prosperity and career fulfillment from all of us at Synthesis in Africa Tikkun. And I'd like to end off with a quote that resonates with me deeply from Ginny Rometty, CEO and chairwoman of IBM, who says, "I learned to always take on things I'd never done before. Growth and comfort do not coexist." Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. I absolutely love that. There are a whole bunch of questions, but some of them I believe we're going to cover as we go along. So I'm not going to ask you those. Just two very quick questions, Deborah. Would you include in a CV, would you put your ID number, personal address, in terms of safety, security, or people concerned about that?
Okay, so I mean, from what I know, the POPI Act is quite rigid on things like that, and I would personally advise that you leave your ID number off. You are welcome to put your date of birth. I think it's helpful in a in any environment which is seeking age-related positions. And in terms of your residential address, definitely not. But it is certainly helpful to put the area in which you reside.
All right, there are a whole bunch more questions, but I think we're going to come back to those because some of them might be answered in the other presentations. So, Deborah, thank you. I found that amazing, and I have to tell you, the thing that resonated for me so strongly was using a person's name when you write an email to them, because
Absolutely.
concern. I know if I receive an email like that, it kind of just I don't even take it seriously. But if somebody says, "Dear Howard," immediately I'm engaged because they are talking directly to me. It's something that's important.
Correct, and I think that's the whole thought behind creating a rapport professionally.
Absolutely. Deborah, thank you. We'll come back to you in a short while. Elmory Grant is up next. She heads the Synthesis Academy. She joined Synthesis in 2019, bringing with her more than 20 years of professional learning and development, coaching, instructional design experience. So she's worked in a number of fields. She is particularly qualified in leadership management. She focuses on developing synthesis trainings offering and accelerates a competence. So Elmory, over to you. What we want you to talk about is how do you put your best foot forward?
Indeed. Thank you very much, Howard, and good afternoon, everyone. I want to talk a little bit today about how to kickstart your personal impact. This idea of when you meet someone for the first time, whether it's face-to-face or whether it's in a virtual setting, how you make sure that you stand out. And actually, some of the tips I'm going to be talking about today are things that you can also think about when putting together this beautiful CV that Deborah has just spoken about. Because what typically happens is once your CV is out there and you get invited to an interview, you have to show up and bring your absolutely best version of yourself, literally putting your best foot forward. And how will you let the interviewer know that you are the best person for the job, who you are, what you bring to the table? You only have a really short space of time to convince them. And so what are some of the things we can think about when preparing for an interview in this way? So I want to give you really 3 very quick tips to think about. The first one I want you to think about is around brand. And I want you to think of yourself as a brand. Now, the original idea of brand isn't a very pleasant one. Brands were originally obviously used to identify and mark animals with their owner's mark or specific initials, so that if there was a dispute around the ownership of the animal, it could be proven by this brand. But in marketing, luckily, we don't brand ourselves that way. What branding refers to in that case is a set of associations that we make about either a service or a logo or an individual, and that informs how we can predict that particular service is going to behave. So our personal brand is something similar. It's these sets of associations that people could make around us. So let me give you an example of how brands could work. If I showed you this logo, what would you think of? Chances are you would not just think of chicken. Chances are that you would also consider the fact that they are known for political satire, that they have all these incredibly tongue-in-cheek ads, and that they tend to be first to market, responding to any pertinent topics in the world and giving us something to laugh about. So Nando's is a really good example of how the brand is bigger than just the actual service. And in the same way, you as a brand are much bigger than just who you are right now. So how do we think of ourselves in this way? How do we think of ourselves in a brand in this way and try and figure out what that means for me and what my brand could and should look like? So let's talk a little bit about this idea of a personal brand. I like this definition that it is about understanding, so establishing and identifying, but also then promoting what it is that you stand for. It really is the unique combination of everything that you are, your skills, your experience, your personality, your quirks, your strengths, your weaknesses. All of these things put together make a very unique secret sauce almost that can make you special and set you apart from everybody else who's vying for the same position. And so trying to understand what that secret sauce is for you and then making it clear so other people can understand it can be a really useful experience. But let's also talk about what personal brand is not. Personal brand is not dishonest. It is not about saying that we are something that we are not. The minute your brand is not authentic, people will know it, and they'll actually be dissuaded by that. So you have to really stay true to who you really are. You are good enough. You are very special, and it's about finding that specialness within yourself. It's also about being congruent. You can't say that you are all about excellence and being about a perfectionist, but then your CV has spelling errors and you are late for your interview. It's around saying that when I understand what my brand is, my behavior, how I'm perceived, what I do, and how I do it, everything is in congruence with each other. It's also not about boasting or arrogance, right? It's about absolutely showcasing the things that make us special, our strengths and our achievements, but it's underpinning those things with actual proof and some kind of evidence. And we're going to talk about that a little later on and how we can make that happen so that when we say what we think our brand is or when we express it in whatever way we think that is, that it's actually something real and that people really can believe in. We have a whole bunch of examples of people who thought they were a particular brand, but then turned out to be not congruent and something completely different. And that creates all sorts of issues. So it's really important that we consider being authentic and real, but also being very honest about ourselves. Deborah spoke about that humbleness that comes in with it. And humbleness is not about not acknowledging our achievements or not acknowledging our strengths, but it's about saying those strengths and achievements are underpinned by things that we have actually done and understanding how it fitted in with the people that we worked with. So what is your personal brand? Let's take a tiny step closer. If you could describe yourself in just 3 words, what would those 3 words be? Would those 3 words really describe how unique you are? Would they describe the things that you can offer that no one can? Would those words be things that describe your personality? Would they be things that describe your behavior? Or would they be things that describe your skill levels? So let's think a little bit about that. If you had words like, I am confident, or I think a good statement about me would be that I am kind, or I'm innovative, or you might even have said about yourself that you are brave. Those could be words that you think are particularly unique to you. And I really invite you to take a moment and think about what your 3 words might be that you think would describe you and could start getting us closer to what your brand is. But I want you to think slightly further than that. It's not enough just to have your 3 words. It has to mean something to your audience. In this case, your prospective employer. So let me give you an example. Not so long ago, I had a birthday, and for my birthday, my best friend bought me a pasta spoon. This particular pasta spoon pictured here. Now, I already have a pasta spoon, and it certainly does not have a hole in the middle. And so when I got my new pasta spoon, I was quite perplexed. What could possibly be the purpose of the hole in the middle of my pasta spoon? So I was really grateful, and I smiled nicely, and I said thank you nicely to my best friend, but privately I thought it's quite a weird thing for me to get a pasta spoon with a hole in. Fast forward a couple of days, when I wanted to make spaghetti bolognese and I took out my bunch of spaghetti out of my cupboard, I realized that actually the purpose of the hole in the spaghetti spoon is for me to be able to measure the exact correct amount of spaghetti that you need to make for one person. So in hindsight, actually a really thoughtful gift by my best friend who knows that I cook for myself and that I always make too much spaghetti because I don't know how to measure it. So the point here is that you are a spaghetti spoon and you have a hole in the middle that is really useful, but people might not know what it is. So you have to describe for them what that is that makes you unique. So in the marketing world, we talk about features, advantages, and benefits. So the feature of my spoon is that it had a hole in. The advantage and the point of that is that it could measure pasta. And the benefit is that I now no longer make pasta and waste because I'm making too much. So can you see how just saying, hey, my spoon has a hole in it is not good enough? I have to explain what it is. And so when we start talking about these words that describe us or our brand statements, or even making statements on our CV such as I have good leadership skills, we really need to think about what that actually means. Because leadership, for instance, is a very, very broad space. So what does my good leadership skills mean? It could mean something like I have excellent feedback skills because I've had to work with a team where we've had people with different skills levels and I've had to feed back to them what their performance was like so that we could improve the team's performance. So can you see now I'm being very specific and I'm asking the so what question. So I have good leadership skills. So what? What does it mean for my prospective employer? And so trying to describe all of these great attributes that you have or these excellent behaviors, it's really helpful to ask yourself this question. So what? There is a hole in my spoon. So what? How can I make my prospective employer understand what it is that I have to offer? So when we look back at those three words that we were saying, kind could mean that actually I am an excellent team worker because I take into account the feelings and emotions of the people around me. Innovative could be I've come up with 3 new ideas at my school that improved the students' lives. Or good leadership skills. At my university, I was part of or led a particular team that promoted the mental health of a group of students. So can you see how we're talking about the thing that makes us unique, but also an example of it, and then how that might work in the workplace? So what we have to offer, so that it's not a generic CV anymore, but it really tells me something about you, your skills, your experience, and what you bring to my organization. As a very, very selfish employer who only wants to employ people that will do something for me, what is it that you can do for me? So I hope that little example of the hole in the spoon gave you an idea of some of the things that you can do to make your CV and your interaction with other people stand out. Because of course, this doesn't just go for your CV, it also goes for the personal interviews that you have. So saying that your hobby is climbing Mount Everest, what does that mean? Because actually there's a skill in there. It's about tenacity. It's about dreaming big and then being able to set out and achieving those dreams. So can you see that now there's a reason for the hole in my spoon? So think about it a little bit in that way. That's my first tip. My second tip really is around the dreaded question that all interviewers ask. They always say, so tell me a little about yourself. And very few people actually know how to answer this. Mostly what people will say are things like, well, my name is Elmory, I'm 11 years old, and I studied such and such, and what else do you want me to tell you? Now, as an interviewer, I can tell you how many times I've heard that. That's not impactful. That doesn't make me feel confident in your ability to have a conversation or to impress my customers or to work with my other colleagues. So what kind of question could you ask? What could you say to completely change an interviewer's world about you? How about if I walked into a room and I said to you, my job is to make people feel safe and happy? Sure, that's quite a big statement. What is your job? Immediately you're interested. Tell me more. How do you do that? What do you actually do to deliver that? Can you see that it's a far more compelling statement? And so I want to give you a quick little recipe that you can use to try and craft your own tell me about yourself statement. And this is what it looks like. We call it a brand statement. And And you can do this in a number of different ways. This is just one example of something that you can use. So start off with I am a, and tell me something a little bit about yourself. Who? Tell me what it is that you do. For, who it is that you do it for, or who you want to do it for. And so that they, so if you were doing this thing for these people, what would the result be? So let me give you a practical example of that. I am a 24-year-old student. Sorry, I'm really not a student or 24, but I hope you'll forgive me for the example. I am a 24-year-old student who wants to write books. And who do I want to write those books for? For children. Why? So that they can believe in magic, or so that they can have sweet dreams. Now, if you look at that statement, it's still a fairly straightforward statement. I'm a 24-year-old student who wants to write books for children so that they can believe in magic. But if you now take that, you take the most important, most compelling piece out of that, then your brand statement becomes, I want to make children believe in magic. So if you think of that example within the context of a job interview, then what is it that you can say? What is it that you could craft, bearing in mind your brand statement, those 3 words that describe you best? Can you craft something here that will really give an interviewer a good sense of who you are and what you're all about? Yeah? Can you make your interviewer believe in your magic? And that little recipe is a really good way to get you start thinking about what it is that you actually want to deliver. So that was tip number 2. Here's tip number 3. Most often when I speak to people who are trying to prepare for an interview in particular, say, but I'm not really confident. I don't really know. I'm quite shy. I'm an introvert. I'm not really good with people. I don't know how to do some of the stuff. And so I specifically want to talk about this idea of projecting confidence. So the quality of being certain of your abilities or of having trust in people, plans, or the future is the Cambridge Dictionary's definition of what confidence is. Confidence is not about boasting about your abilities, but it is about quietly knowing what you are. Remember the hole in our pasta spoon? Next time I go to somebody else's house and there's a hole in the pasta spoon, I know a secret that they might not. And so that gives me a complete comfort level and confidence level to get involved in the process of cooking pasta. And you know what the secret hole in your spoon is. But I want to give you 2 more very, very quick tips. The first one is something we called embodied or enclosed cognition. When Deborah was talking about dressing the part for your interview, it's not just about impressing your interviewer. There's actually a school of psychology that says what happens to our bodies influences our minds. And in this particular piece of psychology, in enclosed cognition, it talks about when we dress in a certain way, we make assumptions about that dress for ourselves. So if you go to a dress-up party and you dress like a pirate, chances are by the end of the evening, you're going to have a little bit of like in your conversation. So if you dress like you are confident and successful, your mind automatically assumes that you are confident and successful, and you will project that. So make sure that what happens on the outside is set up in such a way that it can influence your mind. A separate corollary of that is this. There's a professor called Amy Cuddy, and in the follow-up to this session, I'll send you a link to her TED Talk, who talks about how just standing properly can actually make us feel more confident. Now, I've got Superman and Superwoman here because it's the Superman and Superwoman pose. Standing with your legs about hip width apart, nice and straight, arms on your side. Take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and that will already give your body a sense of confidence that your mind will then pick up on. So make sure that when you meet your interviewer, whether you are doing it virtually or face-to-face, you are setting your body up so that your mind can follow. Confidence, if you don't have it in here, can be faked very successfully. And interestingly enough, the more you fake it, the more you are going to feel it. So remember, you are unique. You have a hole in your pasta spoon that nobody else have. You know how to make a statement about who you are. So make sure that it's magical. And finally, confidence is all about believing in yourself. So may your feet take you anywhere your heart wants to go. Thank you, Howard. Back to you.
Thanks, Elmory. That is absolutely awesome. So really the takeaway point here is actually very interesting, because it's almost this combination of saying, be authentic, don't be fake, don't try and be somebody else's pasta spoon. But at the same time, the one thing that is okay to fake just a little bit is confidence, because ultimately the more you project confidence, the more you feel confidence. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And confidence is one of those things that you have to grow like a little plant. People aren't just born with confidence. Most of us who seem confident had to work at it. And so
100%.
presenting yourself as if you're already confident will get you that one step closer.
Absolutely amazing. All right, Elmory, thank you. We're going to come back to you in a short while. There are a number of questions that I want to address, but we'll bring everybody back a little bit later and discuss them with you then. Joining us now, Lerato Ramatseba from Africa Tikkun. We've asked her to chat about searching for job opportunities. Lerato, thank you for joining us. Lerato, as I mentioned, is an experienced professional, over 10 years experience in IT and information technology, solution development, organizational transformation, strategy, people management, and development. She's goal-oriented, self-driven, and a motivated individual. I can attest to that. Lerato, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Howard. So we are actually living in an era wherein there's a lot of pressure out there. Pressures for searching for opportunities, because we had a lot of companies laying off people, and living in the era of the fourth industrial revolution, automated jobs. A lot of skills are redundant, and we've got a high demand of specialized skills, high unemployment rate. The pandemic is here, the bad economy, lack of income, high crime rate, and lack of specialized skills. Community skill sets are not aligned with the demand of the industry. And on top of it all, we still have our own human needs, psychological needs, food, clothing, safety, job security, a sense of love and belonging, and also esteem and self-actualization, meaning a state of fulfillment. However, having to go through all of these things that we're going through, being in a chaotic state, and also having to have our own needs, we shouldn't despair. We should look at this as an opportunist state. So, meaning there are a lot of opportunities out there. It doesn't mean when you were laid off work or you're still a graduate looking for an internship, a lot of companies are closed and you are even unable to apply for jobs. It doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. There are a lot of opportunities where you can work remotely, and also with this pandemic, we've seen that, just to use an example, Uber Eats, there's a lot of demand in delivery drivers, of which is the skill sets that a lot of our youngsters don't have, right? So the demand of delivery drivers actually created new opportunities for our people. It doesn't mean when you have a grade 12 and you are unable to go finish off your schooling and due to certain reasons, right? But it doesn't mean you don't have opportunities. So there's a lot of opportunities to name out there. And also we have specialized skills on demand. Right now we're working on, for example, you're a software developer. And as a software developer, you're looking for a job in a company. Why not create an opportunity for yourself? We are in a digitized environment, in a digitized world, wherein a lot of applications are in demand. Why not start an application firm for yourself, application development, so such things. And there's opportunities to learn new skills online. For example, Microsoft GSI SA on LinkedIn in partnership with Africa Tikkun Services, of course. So if you don't have skill sets to be part of the specialized skills group, you can actually go online. There are lots of free courses that you can utilize to enhance your skill sets and also to build up your CV. And we also know that in crisis, there's always new needs, as I've stated with the Uber Eats example. And the crisis also changes rules. Uber Eats again, there are instances wherein you can't go to a restaurant because it's crowded, right? But at least there's an opportunity for someone out there to make money or to even create opportunities. So the rules that changed actually create opportunities for other individuals. So now, how do you find those opportunities? You need to, create partnership and network with people. Sitting at home will not do anything for you. And also you need to improve your skills and profile, like Deborah said, and expand your job search tool, social media, websites, applications, and directly going to companies. Always have a career action plan. I'm talking to a youngster right now that's got only a grade 12. They don't know what to do next. They're unable to go finish off their studies. They're unable to start a new career, maybe attending an tertiary or something. But you actually need to, after having your grade 12, have a career action plan. You cannot just say, I have a grade 12 and I'm going to, hop around and not do anything. Have a plan. Each and every little thing that is going to bring you an income, it's something, So you also need to also be informed about job opportunities around you. So you also need to have job seeking strategies. So I'm going to talk to the people who doesn't have matric. These people are probably ranging from, let's put it, grade 10 to grade 11, and they are below 35. So these people are regarded as youth. So there are more opportunities in getting learnerships, right? So if you have probably a grade 11, you can actually get an opportunity to be in a learnership for NQF level 3. And you can also search for remote jobs. There are companies that are looking for people to help them out with virtual assistants and, a whole lot of opportunities. Like, for example, have that skill set of becoming a delivery driver. I'm going to keep on using that one because most of our South African people don't want to become delivery drivers. It's such a high demand job, but we don't have skill sets in South Africa. So applying for such positions. And then you can also search for jobs with a no matric requirement. So when you go into the search engines or in areas, I'll talk to the areas wherein you need to go to search for positions, you need to actually have an intent search. Do not just search for jobs. You need to search for jobs that have requirements with no matric. You need to also build entrepreneurial skills. Also consider finishing your matric if you're in grade 11 so that you have enough opportunities. You can also start a business, and also you can do remote working. And then the person with matric and they don't have any formal qualifications, there are learnerships out there. You can do NQF level 4, level 5 learnerships. You can also, when you do your search, like I said, you need to make sure that you search for jobs that are relevant to what you have. And also build on your skills. You cannot just say, I've got a matric and I'm going to look for a job. That's not realistic. So to be realistic is that how do I, as Deborah said, there's a job requirement, there's a job advert out there. It's looking for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I want to be a recruitment administrator, what is it that I need to have in order for me to get to that? So you need to start building on your skills. They are, like I said, there's free online courses that you can attend and also be able to build on your skill sets and also be able to be searchable. And you must know what you want. You cannot just with a blind eye and just dive into the market search. You will never succeed. So you need to know what you want. What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you want to be? And then also you can do remote work without a matric, with a matric and no qualification. And you can also build your entrepreneurial skills and also start a business. And then let's go to graduates. Graduates, there are opportunities for internships. And you can also, as a graduate, do learnership programs that are maybe NQF level 6 so that you don't repeat what you actually studied. And also you can look for jobs with no experience. So when you do your search, you will search for jobs that are relevant to the qualification that you studied so that you are able to get to be seen. Let me put it that way. Okay. You can also do remote work, and obviously as a graduate, the more skill sets you start having, the more opportunities you start getting, right? And also you can also build your entrepreneurial skills and start a business, of course. And then let's talk to an experienced person. So as an experienced person, obviously already you have how do I put this? You have an experience in a certain area. So when you start searching for jobs, search jobs that you are an expert in, so that you can get noticed by your dream company. Search for right jobs. You cannot be an HR person and go search for a finance job. That's a no-go area, unless if it's a finance as a payroll person in finance. So that is actually a bit relevant to what you did, but you cannot just say, because I did recruitment or HR, I'm going to go and start applying for jobs that are not relevant to what I'm an expert in. And also you must customize your resume and cover letter, as Deborah said, and you must use your network. I'm sure by the time you start being an experienced person, you have a network. LinkedIn is very good with that. Networking, don't be shy. You know, as we are speaking now, if you need to know, maybe from my side, what is it that I can help you with? You are able, that's starting to network. If you want to have coffee with someone, obviously with this pandemic, now it's not easy to start having coffees, but Zoom call, or 5 minutes of someone's time just to sit with them and start networking. That's how opportunities comes. And you must also rank well on Google. So what you actually put in to your social media platforms, your LinkedIn, your all of these things are integrated. When I search for your name, I should be picking up good things about you. So this also applies to a person with no matric. So whatever you put on your social media will determine your tomorrow. Okay, and then you must also have you must search for jobs wherein companies are hiring and make sure companies can find you and build your entrepreneurial skills. You must learn new skills and start a business. So obviously, with all that said, you need to have a plan. In each and everything that everyone does, need to have a plan. So have a weekly job search plan. Put away time, put aside time. If you're saying, I'm going to have actually at least an hour a day to start looking for jobs, do that. Don't get home and say, oh, my day was so bad. Okay, let me just look for this, So it doesn't work like that. If you want to be seen, time yourself, put aside time, at least 30 minutes to an hour a day to search for jobs, and also register on websites, and make sure you update your profile, your LinkedIn profile frequently, and also monitor the responses. Obviously, apply for jobs and then monitor the responses. And also, in order for a person to get a job, you cannot just apply for one position or one vacant position and expect to be called in. So if I'm sure for a person, the probability is that if you send at least 90 CVs, relevant CVs that are relevant to your to that are actually relevant to what you have, your experience, your educational background and everything, at least you might receive an email, maybe calling you for an interview or something. It's a might. So don't just do one thing. And also what I've noticed is that searching for jobs online only does not work. So at least spend 70% of the time of your planning. When you do your planning, that 70% of the time should be on networking. The 30% should be on applying for jobs online. Okay. So let me just put the opportunities out there, learnerships, internships. You can also go to job search platforms and go to company websites, also through referrals, networking, and also looking for recruiters, and go to youth development centers. This is mostly to our youngsters. In order for you to start having opportunities, the youth development centers have a lot of opportunities, because when recruiters, especially bulk recruitment, if they are looking to bring in maybe 1,000 candidates for a work experience or an internship opportunity, the first go-to place is actually at the youth development centers. So ensure that you are seen. Go out there, be seen, even if you volunteer with them, or go to their database and just register. And also on social media, you can be able to see. So as a youngster, where do you start? Build an online profile, keep improving your skills. If you go online and you get a one free course, don't just stop there. Do as many as you can based on, of course, your career plan. So let's say you want to be a graphic designer. So obviously the courses that you're going to start improving on, to start doing to improve on your skills, will be related and relevant to graphic designing. And then you also can knock on doors and visit company websites, expand your network cycle. The expansion should not just be with families, friends, and relatives. Like I said, LinkedIn, it's the best place to actually expand your network cycle. Look for staffing agencies. You can download job search apps. Okay. So this is actually, there's a whole lot of youth centers out there. I'm going to start with Africa Tikkun Services. We are actually based in, we do have a center in Diepsloot. We do have a center in Braamfontein. We do have a center in Fuleni, and we do have a center in Alex. And we also starting to set our blueprint across the country. We're also doing work in Limpopo, in the Northwest, in KZN, and also in Western Cape. So we do have candidates across. And there's Harambe, there's Bukamuso Youth Center. Southern Africa Youth Project, and Tucson Youth Centers, Ikamba Youth Gauteng, Busasa Youth Development, Ekurhuleni Youth Center, Yes for Youth Community Hub, Nelson Mandela Community Youth Center, and Tepa 1 Million, and Togoza Progressive Youth, Mphahlele Youth Development, Youth of Tsomo, Giraffe Agency, Westbury Youth Center, Elite Talent, Executive Placement. So with executive placement, you will actually get positions that are placed in by some of these youth development centers that I'm talking to. For example, in Africa Ticon Services, when we actually advertise our positions, they actually go into executive placements. And then, so this is more of the best job search and recruitment sites in South Africa. So you can go into all of this, try based on actually what you're looking for. So obviously you can't be looking for hotel jobs if you're not into the hotel industry. So
Loretta, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are running a little bit late because it's already
okay.
1 minute over time. Well, would you be able to share some of this information with people who have participated, so that that they can see some of the stuff?
Okay. No.
Oh,
Thank you
all
so
right.
much.
I apologize for jumping in, but what I am concerned about is that we are over time. We've got a couple of quick questions for everybody. Thank you for that. Really, really informative, helpful, and I have no doubt that everybody listening thought so as well. We're getting lots and lots of questions. Guys, I'm going to go through. I've got a couple of questions here that I think are quite interesting, just to throw out to the panel. And I'm just going to ask them very, very quickly, and we just get a different answer. All right, here we go. I would love the answer from everybody. So, Elmory, we'll start with you, then Loretta, then Deborah. What about putting a photo attachment on your CV, Elmory?
I think this is personal choice. It's entirely up to you. If we are going to do it, it needs to be a professional picture, not you and your dog or you at a party somewhere. It needs to really reflect that brand that we were talking about, and make sure that it doesn't overwhelm the rest of the CV. It needs to be neat, it needs to be professional, because ultimately, yes, it's a nice touch, but really the content of your CV is what's really important, because we want to understand your skill sets and what you bring to the table. Debs, you may also have a view on that one.
So from personal experience, I would advise, as Elmory has said, it is a nice touch. It's able to put a face to a name and certainly creates more personability. So yes, but as long as it's professional.
Loretta, you agree with that?
I fully agree.
All right, great. So I hope that answers that question. A few people asking, should, Deborah, the CVs that one of them that you showcased was in Word, should it be in Word? Should it be a PDF? Does it matter?
So yes, it does matter. I would certainly send a PDF version of a CV, so it is uneditable. Again, it is your own unique brand / marketing tool, so it is better to send it in an uneditable format, either or, but preferably PDF.
All right. Next question. How do you go about answering the question in terms of what are your career objectives? Loretta, I'm going to start with you and then go to Elmory.
So I think the problem with that question and why people get really confused by it is it sounds like we have to think 10 years into the future. And actually, we don't have to. It can be a short-term objective. It can be saying something like, I've never worked in a team before. I'm really keen to learn how to be a good team player. It can be something like, I have very basic skills in the cloud environment, but I'd like to expand on those and learn more about, what cloud is and does. It could be something around, I've never been in a leadership position, so I'm really keen to understand, what my leadership style would be and how I could best develop and grow that. So we don't have to think 10 and 15 years into the future. It can be relatively short-term ones. So don't let that question trip you up. Think about what you currently know and think about what you'd really like to know and whether the opportunity in front of you.
I like that answer. In other words, condense it. You don't need to give your 20-year plan. Loretta, you're nodding. Do you agree with that? Would you agree with that as an approach?
Definitely, I would agree with that. Putting short term, I think it's much better, because we in an era wherein you can decide that tomorrow you want to be something and that thing will change tomorrow. So like in the next 20 years. So rather talk to the here and now and be flexible.
Elmory, this one's for you. Fake it till you make it. Does it not contradict the saying, be true to yourself? I did kind of answer that, but maybe just talk to that again in case anyone wasn't comfortable with that.
Yeah. So the only thing you should ever fake is confidence. That's the only thing. That and maybe your eyelashes.
Write that down. Write that down. The only thing to fake is confidence. 100%. I love it.
But for the rest of it, really make sure that you are congruent and authentic, because don't be caught out, right? Confidence is something that you need to build and you need to water it, and practicing that is part of the process. But don't ever fake anything else unless it's your eyelashes.
Yeah. Well, maybe I could do with a bit of hair, but it doesn't look good. I can tell you it doesn't work. Is there a need to attach your qualifications on the CV, or should you just bring them to the interview, Deborah?
So I think definitely document them on your CV, whether they are complete or not. If they are still in progress, or if they're a work in progress, absolutely document it. It does show ambition. It shows intent to complete them. Whether or not you are required to bring certification along with you to an interview, that is certainly not standard. You may have to produce that at a later stage, closer to offer stage, but certainly document your achievements, completed or in progress, in your CV.
All right, and I know we can't really run more than another 3 minutes over. What important content should a CV have if you are really entry level? And I think this is really worth speaking to, because I think my gut on it, and you guys are the experts, but you can see through an empty CV that has been puffed out. Rather send less, tell us who you are. You're not selling what you haven't got to sell, and that's cool, because you've got potential, you've got the ability to learn, you've got so many other brilliant things. I mean, that's my gut is don't fluff it out, because it just comes across as insincere. But I don't know, Loretta, let's just start with you. Your answer to that?
Yeah, I think less is more, hey? Less is more.
Yeah.
As long as you are on point and precise. As a recruitment person, when I look for candidates, I don't actually want to know about your dogs and all these other things. I just want to see what is it that you have for me. That's it. Thank you.
Deborah?
So I think the message that I was trying to get across was to be concise. So we've got a large force of people who are unemployed, and therefore the applications are many. So instead of, for lack of a better term, wasting the recruiter or employer's time, I would like to emphasize, be concise. If you've got 1 year experience, that's fine. There are positions for you catering for your skill set. Don't fluff it up. You'll be wasting both yourself and the recruiter's time, because you will soon be found out that you've overinflated your ability and your capability. So be concise. That is the message that I want to be quite emphatic about.
And I love what Elmory said about building a brand, is knowing what your brand is. Don't try and be what you're not. Don't think you have to be somebody else. Just be you. And Elmory, I just want to come back to that as well. You put up an amazing slide that helped us to understand what our brand is. The Nando's one I always find so interesting as well. If you look at it just as an example in politics as well, if you look at Julius Malema, he can say things that somebody else can't say, and he can get away with it. Why? Because he's built his brand around that. If somebody else had to say some of those things, there'd be outrage and chaos because he's established his brand. And I'm not saying, of course, we need to do anything in the extreme, especially if we are looking for employment. But that is essentially what it is: understanding who we are and what we want to project. And I think even in a concise CV, I would imagine that's critical. Elmory?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of it is very subtle, right? It's about the words that you use. It's about which kinds of experience you choose to highlight. And even if you don't have a lot of experience, and even if you may not have had tertiary education, for instance, you still have been through stuff in your life that have taught you skills. So focus on those skills rather than necessarily the experience or the education, or if you don't have those things. Again, please don't over-egg it. Keep it simple, but there are things that you can look at. But think about your brand. So if your brand is about being professional and being people love this word of, I'm a perfectionist, then make sure that comes through in the way that you've done your CV.
Yeah.
If
you
your
can't
brand
be
is about
perfectionist
being
with bad
creative,
spelling. Yeah.
exactly. If your brand is about being creative, well, then think creatively about how you lay out your CV and the picture that you include, because creatives like that stuff. So think about how you stay congruent, how you stay, what you do, how you do it, and how you say it. All of those things are in line with who you really are. So you give us a glimpse of the person that we're going to meet. And you are special. You can do it.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, it is 11 minutes over the time. I snuck an extra few minutes. Guys, I just want to thank you, Lerato, Elmory, Deborah. Thank you for your time. I really hope that this was helpful. I hope that you gained from it. That was the only point of today, was just to try and bring together some skills, to give you a few tips. Hope there were a number that you could take away. Let us know how it's going. We would absolutely love to hear back from you if this has been helpful, if this is something that has maybe helped you define where you want to go. Good luck. It isn't easy out there. We see it. We know it. We live in a country, unfortunately, where there are real challenges. But we also live in a country of tremendous opportunity, of amazing people, of just a tremendous spirit of goodness, and of people that really do want to make it work. So our wish to all of you is that you get out there and you make it work. And I just hope that today helped you in some way. So thank you, Africa Tikkun, for your assistance today. Thank you to the team at Synthesis. I'm Howard Feldman. Have a fantastic afternoon further. God bless.